Hey, we're live. Hey, everyone. So, I'm about to brew myself a cup of tea. While I am doing that, I'm going to be throwing some shade. Specifically at the toxic fan base that has developed around the Charmed franchise. And by toxic, I mean massively toxic. And good morning, BB, I see you. So here goes. This is a part of the reason why I don't do a lot of major franchise content and why I stopped doing a lot of my reaction videos. Like, not like the smaller YouTubers or like brief little trailer reactions, but I mean like reactions to episodes in general of any franchise. Okay, sugar, tea. So, long story short, and I really don't know how to put this. Yes, the acting is god-awful for now. But, remember what happened with Arrow Season 1. With Arrow Season 1, what you get is as follows. All of the characters are dumped on you by the real villain. And you know what's really going on. And almost everything for the entire first season can be wrapped up in a nice little bow, and you can practically predict which character is going to die. That's what the Charmed Reboot is doing. Why it is doing it? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe it's because the CW has success with this formula, and has done this ad nauseum and still gotten rave reviews for it. Case in point, the Charmed Reboot still has more weekly viewers than the original Charmed did at its peak. Now, that being said, let's get into the individual reasons, namely the characters. First off, the Charmed ones. I am not going to hide them because it's easier to do them as a group. It's always been easier to describe the Charmed ones as a unit, a cohesive magical fighting force. Yes, they are absolutely terrible as the Charmed ones. But in the original Charmed, they were also insanely terrible. And no, not product placement, I'm just in the mood for Twinings. So, allow me to enlighten you a little bit as to how they are working on the development. The one that has telekinesis is developing personal relationships, which is something that didn't happen until much, much later with the introduction of Paige in the original series. That is good, because interpersonal relationships and the telekinetic character, that combination got the original series pretty good reviews. Alright, now, second, the telepathic character, yeah, she's got interpersonal issues too, but they're more specific. The biggest romance in the original series was with a half-demon who happened to also be the former main antagonist, turned ally, against the actual main antagonist of the series. Or at least it was the main antagonist until the entire plot flipped on its head when the Angels of Destiny showed up. Yeah, I still haven't figured out how they pulled that one out of their rears, but hey! Thank you, because we did get a couple more seasons of the original Charmed out there. But, in this case, they're setting him up to have an even bigger role in the series, not just as a love interest, but as a member of the team. And this is something that happened incidentally while Cole, the half-demon in the original series, was dating Phoebe, the original sort of telepathic, it's more like precognitive, and then empathic character. Complicated. But it worked, and it worked really, really well. So I like that they're doing that earlier and off the bat. Next, the character who has the ability to freeze things. Her love interest in every version of Charmed, except for fanfiction. We do not discuss that any further. I might just do that reaction, BB, and thank you for the suggestion. Back to what I was saying. Her love interest in every canon version of the story has always been half white lighter, half witch. Or in the case of Leo, half white lighter, half avatar. And by half avatar, I mean he's been developing avatar powers since season 1. And nobody really noticed. And it was an easy way for them late in the game to explain why Leo had a whole bunch of powers that he almost never used and kept forgetting he was able to use. Because he wasn't using them of his own volition, he was using them out of instinct. Now, that being said, they've taken a twist on it. Instead of the avatars, which are basically, how do I put this? Lawful neutral / lawful, no, not lawful evil. Lawful neutral to the point it's lawful stupid. Instead of the avatars, you're getting the Sisters of Sarkana, which is kind of amazing in that instead of dealing with, okay, so you're dating someone who has a dark side but also is one of the good guys, you're dating someone who has a good side and is one of the bad guys. Not only dating, you've joined their little witch terrorist group. So, yeah, I twisted that dynamic just enough to make it different and give it a little bit of unique flavor. And tea is done. So, yeah, unfortunately I am a bad person, cool dude. Around my house is a mess. A massive mess. I do my best to try to reduce the amount I litter publicly. I fail. I don't fail miserably, but I fail more. I apologize for not being a good example to people. That said, moving on and focusing on what I was talking about. This is a great series for what it is. It is a reboot of a very popular 90s franchise that has a very, very, very toxic fan base. And by toxic, I mean, yeah, the last time I tried to do a video on this, I had to delete it because of the amount of hate comments I got. Thankfully, I figured out doing live videos delays how long it takes for me to see actual hate comments. But, yes, Charmed does have a very toxic fan base. Myself included at one point. I actually, after the second episode, to throw the book at it and say it was evil. But, and BB, you're right. Most franchises do have toxic fan bases. But, that said, there are things that are better about this series than there were of the original. And it's not just that they're introducing the characters early. It's not just they're changing up the formula in a way that works better. But there is a forbidden, pure white lighter, pure witch relationship. And it's not the parents. It's not one witch has a completely different set of parents than the other. It's literally just the white lighter that's guiding the charmed ones is dating the elder. And in this, the elder is not a white lighter, the elder is a witch that is helping arbit the spells, ensuring that nothing goes wrong with the Book of Shadows. And if anything goes wrong with the Book of Shadows, she has to step in to basically make sure the charmed ones stay safe. Very, very, how do I put this? Compassionate way of looking at it. Because what was one of the biggest problems of the original series? Well, the sisters have turned evil. The Book of Shadows is probably to blame. And usually it is. So, whenever the Book of Shadows goes whack, step in an elder to fix the problem. So they've solved that one particular plot hole that they never could quite explain. Why the Book of Shadows, despite being a force of good, could be corrupted to the point where it would change the personalities of the charmed ones. In this case, no. The spellbook has a personality all its own. It can't be corrupted to save Jack, and even if it's corruptible, there's a backup plan in place. And so I like it. I also like the fact that they introduced us to the Reboot's version of Cole's family. You actually get to see the mortal mother of the half-demon desperately trying to save her son, which is something that Cole didn't have. Yes, the Book of Shadows is supposed to be a good thing. However, and this has been the case with a lot of different episodes, whenever one of the sisters goes completely and utterly evil, the Book of Shadows refuses to help. Or, whenever something happens to the Book of Shadows, causing the sisters to turn evil, it's completely and utterly useless. For example, when the sisters turned against each other when they were inflicted with rage, the Book of Shadows completely ceased to work. They lost their powers. They lost everything. And they weren't able to thoroughly explain how they worked through their issues in the course of an episode. It always seemed shoehorned. At least this way, we don't have to worry about the sisters turning evil because the Book of Shadows is not the source of their powers, necessarily. This time around, it's literally the fact that they were born into a witch family. And it's also kind of odd. And BB, yes, you probably should start watching the reboot before the end of season 1 and the CW app deletes all the free episodes from it. But there is one little plot hole that I think they are going to accidentally wind up leaving open. And that's the mystery of who and or what is the telekinetic sister's father. Because it's not a white lighter by any stretch of the imagination. She's able to see marks that are designed to protect mortals from demons, which only occasionally appear, and generally only when in direct contact with someone of demon blood. And then, as much as I hate to admit it, there's the issue of this ominous warning given by a past version of the sister's mother in a different episode. And I'm not going to say what that warning was. And it wasn't like a warning. It was like seeing a vision of the past and her just incessantly worrying. Which, admittedly, with any kid, a parent will worry. Especially if there's anything even remotely wrong. But in the case of the mom of the charmed ones, yeah, if something is wrong with the baby, she means something is wrong with the baby. Not like developmentally wrong. I mean spiritually. So, I want to see how that plays out. The one that freezes time is now a member of a terrorist organization. with the Elder's approval, which is kind of messed up, but in a way sets her up for she's basically a double agent. So, yay. Um, fan film Revenge of the Mask. Okay. I will scroll back through the comments and I'll look at those. Um, yeah. Oh, and the white lighter is utterly hilarious. His British accent is only vaguely there, which makes me think he learned how to speak with that accent from watching Black Butler. I'm not even joking. Um, but it's just enough that you notice it, but not enough that it's actually a realistic accent. And that leads me to wonder who or what is he? Because he is a white lighter. And they did change the white lighter orbing effect. I will warn you on that, BB. The half white lighter is closer to the original. But that said, he's got a past. And he's dating the elf, keeping an eye on the Charmed Ones personally. And also, he's lost a couple people. And his almost sister-in-law, referencing again the Elder, died because she was a member of the Sisters of Arcana and something happened. Yeah. So that, I wonder how they're going to play out that storyline, how they're going to flesh that out. And that's something that I like about this new series more than the original. There's a lot of tell not show when there should be show not tell, but it's done in a way that although it seems like bad acting, it could very well just be them trying to set up plot hooks for later seasons. And that's what they did with Arrow Season 1. They set up a lot of plot hooks that could be drawn on for Season 2 and a couple for Season 3 before they had to start coming up with new material. And thankfully, The Flash showed up and so did Metahumans, so that happened. But again, the CW is just following the same formula that has worked with everything. And in answer to that, not to sound like I'm a major anghead, but BB, in answer to that last question, it would be Air, but I would point blank refuse to be an Avatar. Like, seriously. No. I do not want to touch that responsibility with the 20-foot pole. 39 and a half maybe, but not a 20-foot. Anyway, good night all. I've got one more day of re-editing my tracks for the Christmas album. And then I'm going to have to run it through Audacity to make sure I edited it properly on my phone. Which is going to suck, considering how old and worn down my computers are. But I got to do it. And then I've got to do what I promised and start moving copies of my videos over to my Patreon. Or at least the links. Anyway, night to whoever winds up watching this, and night everybody.